gather around, it's that time of year where we dress in the past, it's rather sincere. We'll celebrate the blues and jazzy tunes with a wink and a nod beneath the full moon. It's Black History Month, let's spin the records again. Swing to the beat as we pretend to comprehend. Times are changing, feel the buzzing, staying true when they're fussing. Keep the flag a-flying through stormy nights. With the star-spangled banner, I stand tall with manners. Cross my heart with hope in sight. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and free, with liberty. Stick to values in the trends. Families gather, let's defend. Hold the line, keep the bond alive. Truth in our vision, in God we make decisions. For our dream, through thrive and strive. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and prairie, with liberty. We'll keep fighting for what's right, standing strong in the night. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and bravery, with liberty. In the heart they gather strong, pushing back the lefty's throng. With the red banner held high, marching forward through the night. Promises of old will keep as the donkeys start to weep. Stars and stripes forever sway, in the land of the brave we stay. We've got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down.
With a flagpole planted firm,
golden dreams that won't decay,
marching proudly through the day.
In the eagle's shadow by, we find our strength and take our pride. Let the voices echo loud, tearing through the waiting crowd. We've got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down. Across the plains and mountains tall, hear the victory call. With courage and with might we strive, in the light of freedom's guide. We got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds going down.
I'm glowing in the night, shining like a star in this atomic age, a brighter by far. untouchable energy, it's a glowing affair. Ready, ready, I'll take you everywhere. I'm untouchable now, feel the power in the air. Radioactive rhythm for sense without care. Electric and alive in this atomic embrace. Unstoppable now in this glowing space.
It's a crawling like bugs tonight. Freedom's calling, gotta rise and fight. We'll stomp 'em out with all our might. Watch 'em scatter in fear and fright. Crushing commies beneath our shoes like tiny pests with nothing to lose. Crushing commies, our anthem strong. Stand united where we belong.
Stand firm in our belief.
Hold tight.
Through the times clearer we can see. Crazy world spinning round.
Stay grounded.
In our hearts simple truths of creed. Whisper of freedom and liberty.
Rings true.
Our foundation strong and deep. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow. In the story we built for trust and
Never doubt.
time flies but we won't bend. Communists talk loud and fast.
Stay solid.
Our quiet strength is our reply. Souls salute to change but pause.
Reflect.
In unity our dearest friend. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow. In shadows we find our light. Through chaos we stay upright.
Stay
With courage, faith on our side.
forever.
Standing firm, our guide. Holding on to what we know, while the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow, while the winds of change blow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Culturama, where on this show we are trying to reclaim the zeitgeist by reclaiming back the elements of traditional Americana and reintroducing it back into the United States, where we are combating the inclusion and the insidious nature of postmodernism infecting every aspect of major institutions in our country, whether that is the government or higher education. It has been affecting us for quite some time, and thank goodness for the present sitting administration, because it looks like we are taking things back to a better place, far away from where we were once before in the previous administration. I want to thank everyone that has joined the chat already, and I see people are writing in there, so it's really good to see that. But if you're new here, welcome to Culturama, where we talk about what else? Culture, but of course politics. And it has been very difficult to not talk about politics on this show, considering everything that has been going on with this present administration. So forgive me for all the people that are not as big on Trump, but it's a little difficult to not discuss it because what we are seeing is Trump and the Trump administration not just affecting policy here in the United States, but that is also affecting culture. Where I want to talk about largely today is cancel culture. Now, I don't know if cancel culture is altogether gone, but it looks like that it's on its way out the door. With the DOGE staffer, which I'll be talking about, the young man, the 25-year-old, I believe his name is Mark Les, who has been fired. He's resigned as of a few days ago for tweeting some things that are rather questionable, and we will cover all that. But it looks like that he has been rehired in the DOGE team. And who other than Vice President J.D. Vance has come out in his defense, and Donald Trump taking his side on that. And the present administration is now taking sides against cancel culture. And I think this is huge news for, not just staffers in D.C., but for all of us. And it will make a great impact on our professional lives as well as a greater culture happening in the United States. So I'll be talking about that. I will be talking about, of course, about USAID as well. Very difficult not to discuss that, what's been happening in that sector, and a lot of other developments that are happening within the administration. And also, what we have come to find out these last few days is that also in relation to culture is, of course, gaming culture. And it looks like that USAID, or USAID, however people have been pronouncing it, has been funding, what they are saying is funding in part of the culture war against gamers, and has relation to Gamergate, Anita Sarkeesian, as well as other big figures in that movement. Questionable. So I'm going to be talking about that as well, and of course talk about, I suppose, video games in the process of doing that as well. But I want to thank everyone that has joined so far in the chat. I will say hello to each and every one of you in a moment. But before I do that, I do highly encourage everyone that is watching to please like and share the stream in any way that you can, because presently we cannot stream to X or Twitter, which is quite unfortunate. It does bring my numbers down a little bit. Hopefully that will be rectified soon enough. But I implore you to please like and share the stream. Share it all in your group chats that you need to in order to get it out there so we can have a greater viewership. Of course, this is Saturday, so I did have to start the stream an hour later on Saturday. That may or may not be the norm moving forward, but it's really good to see you guys paying attention to my posts to see that it has started an hour later today, so thank you for that. But because it is Saturday, I can stream a little longer today. Given the time frame that we're in, if there's activity in the chat, I'll stay in longer or not. So we'll see about that. But of course, most importantly is to cover the news stories first. And then, of course, I always like to cover the news stories that you guys want me to cover. But I do want to say hello to the chat. And I see a lot of familiar faces as well as some new ones. I see Barney Styles was in the chat. Hello, Barney Styles. We have Plumpkin Zero. Hello, Plumpkin. Good to see you. Steelbringer, Mr. Pig, Mr. Librisi. I always mispronounce your name, but I see your comments on YouTube, so thank you for joining. A.L. Wild wrote, hoping for some Fallout gaming, but don't really care if not still going to stick around. Well, thank you, Mr. Wild, for deciding to stick around. I am thinking about gaming. So there is this Rumble program that's going on, actually, to give you guys some background info. There's this Rumble program, and I am supposed to stream a certain number of hours this month in order to get into the program. And so that means I will have to increase my streaming hours quite a bit. So, one of which will include perhaps some gaming involved, because first of all, that's a good way to pass the time. Second of all, maybe you'll get some people. I don't want to be that person. However, gaming while streaming seems to be, attracting like moths to a flame. So I may do that. I was thinking perhaps to do some gaming tomorrow, if it all works out, on a Sunday stream or a surprise Sunday stream, to see if we could have some people to show up for that. Does that sound like something you guys would like? Let me know in the comments, of course. We have Jose Palacios, I think is how you pronounce it, on YouTube. Hello, Jose. Good to see you. He writes, hello, everyone. Okay. Pork Chop 159. Hello, Pork Chop. Good to see you here. Haven't seen you in a while. Cecilia H is in the stream. Hello, Cecilia. Good to see you too. And of course, we have Frank Herbert wrote on YouTube. Hello, gaming. Yes, good to see you, Frank, as well. Okay, really. We have new names as well, so that's really good to see. Hello, Frank. Thank you for joining Culturama. He writes Fallout. Yes. Okay. I think Fallout would go very well with the aesthetic of the show, of course. So I thought perhaps to do Fallout tomorrow. Once again, if that works out, I will like to do Fallout tomorrow. Of course, if you follow me on X or on Instagram, you see all the you see the posting schedule. So just follow me in the social media, so you'll see like if I'm streaming tomorrow. But all signs point to yes. Anyways, I wanted to jump into the news with you guys, so I'm going to do that, and I just want to throw out a few lighthearted or more fun pieces first before we proceed more with the heavier topics about journalism, USAID, and USAIDs, some calls it, because it is, in fact, it operates like a disease. And then also we have, the DOGE employee, which is a big piece for today. But before I do that, we have some really interesting and good news here. If you look behind me, we see here that perhaps this hasn't been confirmed yet, I don't believe, but Elon supports the idea of Ron Paul leading a Federal Reserve audit team. Now, isn't that exciting? If anyone knows anything about Ron Paul, you know that he has a lot to say about the Federal Reserve. And, I think that my audience, particularly, being part of the Liberty Movement and the For Liberty Network, I think you guys would appreciate that. What do you think? Ron Paul leading the Federal Reserve audit. I pray to God, yes, this will happen. Once again, this has not been confirmed, but hopefully Elon Musk will just have a spare chance to speak with Donald Trump. I know Donald Trump is probably a little annoyed by him, but I just hope he gets in the ear once again of Donald Trump so we can get this rolling. That would be amazing. And in other news as well, first of all, before we do that, I do want to read this quote here. Ron Paul quote, everyone get ready. One thing is clear, the founding fathers never intended a nation where citizens would pay nearly half of everything they earn to the government. We definitely need a revamping in this country. And, regardless of whether or not you're a libertarian ideologically, or you consider yourself more conservative, I mean, that's neither here nor there, right? The fact of the matter is that we have been living under a corrupt system for this long, and finally, it seems as though we have the right people in the right positions to encourage and facilitate certain changes that the people have been begging for ever since, frankly, I believe the Occupy movement. We're inching forward. And yes, we've had our setbacks here and there, but finally, it really does feel like the people are being heard. So I really do hope this is true moving forward. But what is also exciting, perhaps not as exciting, but I did see this go around the internet quite a bit, is this. What do you guys think of this? Let me know what you think of this. So a new species has been discovered, everybody, and I'm feeling a little concerned here, but a living humpback anglerfish, better known as a black sea devil, has been caught on camera for only the second time in history. The video was taken near the Spanish island of Tenerife. A living specimen was previously recorded in 2014. Here we go, guys. Feast your eyes on this creature. So this is only the second time that we've ever seen this creature. Isn't nature beautiful? I don't know about you, but I have fear of deep sea creatures, actually. There's something about the deep sea that it is very compelling and interesting, but it is horrific if you really look into it. And I don't know how I feel about this, you guys. It makes me not want to live on planet Earth for much longer, but it looks like I'm stuck here. Here's a better picture of it. Here's a close-up picture. That is quite something.
Monster kill.
It makes me think of the Beast, which, by the way, if you are new in this stream, and I didn't tell you this, I forgot to mention this. I don't know if it'll happen today, you guys. But on my stream, we do have a rule where if we get a certain amount of money and donations, I get to unleash my dysgenic creature, not that sound effect. This one. This is the Unleash the Beast meter, where if I get $50 or over in donations, I will release my beast here, which is my dysgenic dog named Leo. And once we hit that mark, I let out this sound effect. And that's when you know that the beast has been officially released and we will get my dog out here. It's sort of a tradition we do on my show. Now, we did unleash Leo last stream, so I understand if you guys are a bit spent of your money, but it's an option if you want to see my dysgenic dog. And for those that don't know, Leo is actually severely dysgenic. He is 4 generations inbred. He is all intents and purposes a miracle of life in many ways. Or you could say the bastardization of life as well. And so once we get a certain amount of donations in, I'm going to set the price higher because it's been easier to get him out here. So I'll set at $60. If we get $60 in donations, I will bring him out in a tailored outfit for the theme of the show. So that is the Unleash the Beast segment.
Monster kill.
Anyways, so that's sort of a kind of a goal to, get you guys invested and incentivized to donate in the chat. Okay, so anyways, let me double check on the stream here to make sure you guys are all set. We have wonderful viewership. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We have Jamming Janet on YouTube. Thank you for joining, Jamming Janet. Steelbringer writes, Ave Leo.
Monster kill.
Steelbringer, Leo has his fans for sure. Okay. Oh, looks like someone let me know that Mr. Labrisi, most donations come through Rumble Rants. Thank you for reminding me. The Dialectic Project. Yes, this is true. So, yes. By the way, I forgot to clarify this part. If you want me to for sure answer any of your questions, cover any story that you want me to cover, please send in a Rumble rant. That 100% for sure will let me to refer to it, because sometimes, I will get distracted and I will not have a chance to look at all your guys' comments. So if you want me for sure to read your comments, answer your questions, read your statements, cover a story, donate it in the Rumble rant. As a Rumble rant through Rumble, that's the best place to interact with me, okay? And, that way I will answer your questions, given that they are, appropriate for the stream. And also, it also goes a long way in helping the stream as well. So that's just an option. But I wanted to know if you guys had any thoughts about the fish I just threw out there, because once again, I am quite frightened about it. The Steelbringer just sent in a couple emoticons of the fish. Valiant Thor on YouTube. Thank you for joining, a Valiant Thor. They wrote, it would be cool to see DOGE audit the black budget on knowledgeable special access programs. That would be quite interesting, yes. Okay, everyone is excited for the gaming. Yes, a membership was gifted, by the way, by Steelbringer. Thank you so much, Steelbringer, for that. I believe that a gifted membership is $5, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you for that. That's very, very kind of you. All right. So I want to pull up this next few stories for you guys, because this is big. The Doge stories are big. With the, let me see. I may have to go in commercial break. I have no, I don't want to talk about the Doge story first. I actually want to talk about. Oh man, you guys, have you heard about the refugee status of the South Africans? That's going to be really interesting. Okay. I'll be pulling that up in a second. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining. I will be right back. I'm going to be pulling up the next story, which is actually, I really want to cover this because it really does feel like the president and his administration are really listening to his people here. And that is Donald Trump wanting to secure a refugee status for the Boers in South Africa. That was huge. I found out about it last night. So I will be right back. I'll be pulling. I have 10, 20 different sources for this. So forgive me for that. I will be returning in a second here. So guys, just stay tuned. I will be right back here.
flash in the night. Opponents stand side by side. Soldiers collide, nowhere to hide. This meet dreams in the street. History on repeat. Our world's in a spin. Let the future begin. We stand firm in our belief.
Hold tight.
Through the times clearer we can see. Crazy world spinning round.
Stay grounded.
In our hearts simple truths agree. Whisper of freedom and liberty.
Rings true.
Our foundation strong and deep. Holding on to what we know. While the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow. While the winds of change blow. In the story we've built for trust in you.
No doubt.
Time flies but we won't bend. Communists talk loud and fast.
Stay solid.
Our quiet strength is our reply. So salute to change but pause.
Reflect.
In unity our dearest friend. Holding on to what we know. While the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow. While the winds of change blow. In shadows we find our light. Through chaos we stay upright.
Stay
With courage, faith on our side.
forever.
Standing firm, our guide. Holding on to what we know. While the rest of the world lets go. Steady paths we choose to follow. While the winds of change blow.
Alrighty, so like I said, I wanted to talk about the Afrikaner situation and Trump's comments on that. So thank you guys for sticking around. I did pull up some sources for this because when I was doing research on this topic, a lot of news sources, in my opinion, did not give this story the gravity that it deserves, considering a lot of the abuses that Boers, people, and settlers in South Africa have to deal with. So I wanted to talk about this on stream with you guys here today because it is a very important topic and it actually seems like Trump is listening. Let's take a look here. Let me pull up the tweets here and the news sources. But so Jack Posobiec had first tweeted this when I first heard about it, but he writes, breaking, President Trump places sanctions on South Africa for their treatment of Afrikaners and promote their refugee resettlement to the United States. This is my tweet of it. I wrote, our president and his admin actually listens to his constituents and his fans, his people. What a game changer. And here is the citation for what people are all talking about. Oh, I like this comment. The entire world is being healed. Okay, so this is the refugee resettlement and other humanitarian considerations. It states that the Secretary of State and the Secretary of the Homeland Security shall take appropriate steps consistent with the law to prioritize humanitarian relief, including admission and resettlement through the United States Refugee Admissions Program for Afrikaners in South Africa who are victims of unjust racial discrimination, which, yes, is happening in South Africa. Once again, a lot of big media does not want to, I don't think, quite acknowledge that. And we will come to see that here in a second. It states, such plan shall be submitted to the president through the assistant to the president of Homeland Security advisor. Wow, this is really huge. Here's an article that I found detailing this more in depth. It kind of gives an example of what I mean when I say that when I looked this up to find more details about it, it was quite concerning to see the lacking of detail that they provided. Let's read this together. So this is from CBS News. And it says that Trump orders the U.S. to prioritize refugee resettlement of South Africans of European descent. Let's read this together. President Trump on Friday, last night, directed government officials to prioritize the resettlement of South Africans of European descent through the U.S. refugee program, which he suspended during his first day in office. Sorry about all these ads here, you guys. In an executive order, Mr. Trump accused the South African government of discriminating against Afrikaners, an ethnic group in South Africa made up of descendants of European colonists, mostly from the Netherlands, who first arrived there in the 1600s. Until the 1990s, white South Africans of European descent ruled South Africa, enforcing the brutal system of apartheid against the country's black majority or black natives. But Mr. Trump and in his order that white South Africans are now the targets of oppression by the country's government, citing a law that U.S. conservatives like Trump advisor and billionaire Elon Musk, I like how they have to point out that he's a billionaire as though no one really knows that, or that it's some kind of an official title, citing a law that U.S. conservatives like Trump advisor and billionaire Elon Musk have said allow racially motivated seizures of land owned by white South Africans. Musk was born in South Africa, so he would know a thing or two about this issue, right? South Africa's government has strongly denied any land confiscations or racially motivated discrimination, saying the law has been scrutinized. Law being scrutinized targets land not being used or not serving the public interest. In his order, Mr. Trump instructed Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to prioritize humanitarian relief, including admission and resettlement through the United States Refugee Admissions Program for Afrikaners in South Africa who are victims of unjust racial discrimination. It's unclear, this article states moving forward, it's unclear and when that plan will be enacted since refugee arrivals were brought to a halt by Mr. Trump. In an executive order he signed on January 20th, the president argued refugees were a strain on receiving communities and said that he would only restart the refugee program if he concluded that doing so would serve the interest in the United States. Mr. Trump's order does, however, allow officials to create case-by-case exemptions to freeze in refugee arrivals. I think he will find a way to accept certain refugees, even though he had enacted a halt. I think he will find a way. Okay, so this article just goes on to describe pretty much the history of the situation. But yes, so as this article has stated, of course it has to bring in the apartheid and the darker historical elements of South Africa to bring in the point that, nothing really is serious is going on here. That was serious about the situation was what happened before. And that right now, any of the Afrikaners or the Boers that are witnessing any racial discrimination it's not really highlighting the severity of the issue. And that's the issue that I think that, mainstream media doesn't want to touch on, is that there actually is racial discrimination occurring in South Africa. And this is something that they do not want to talk about or acknowledge, because it turns out now that the people that are being directly affected by this and impacted by this are of, as this article states, European descent, and they are white. And that being the fact that they are white, major media doesn't want to cover it. Or they at the very least downplay the severity of the issue. And it's really big and exciting to see that President Donald Trump actually takes this issue quite seriously. And whether or not you want to say that this has to do with Elon Musk's influence, maybe it does, I don't know. But, and I can see that being the case, but the fact of the matter is that he is taking issues that have been thrown to the wayside for so long, where people's lives truly are being uprooted simply for the color of the skin, real racial discrimination, and he's taking it seriously. And I wanted to highlight a few stories for you guys to bring in the fact that there really is discrimination happening in South Africa, severe prejudice, because, like I said, big media will not want to cover it. They will downplay it, or they won't highlight some of the destructive elements of this issue. But thank goodness, due to, independent journalism and locals of that country, what they will tell you is that this, in fact, is happening, and people's lives are being unabashedly ruined by what's happening in South Africa. For instance, I found a couple stories here to share with you guys today, but here's one that I found to start off with. South African farmer Theo Becker, 79, was brutally murdered by 4 thugs yesterday. The attackers beat him with an iron bar. By the way, these next few stories are going to be a bit graphic, guys, so just a warning for you, a little trigger warning. The attackers beat him with an iron bar, they slit his throat, and then beat his wife, Marlinda. Okay, this came 24 hours after EFF leader Julius Malema told the crowd of 90K people to, quote, kill the Boers, or the whites. Boer means farmer. Kill the white farmer. So yeah, Boer translates, it's Dutch. I think it's Dutch for white farmer, or but that's like the traditional name for the whites living in South Africa. But yeah, so Elon Musk just wrote the 2 exclamation marks here. But yeah, this, these poor individuals were unfortunately brutally killed simply for the fact of them being white and being descendants of Europeans. So once again, very sad and serious situation. This is not something that should be downplayed. Here's another story. A farmer is jumped by multiple armed attackers who stab him countless times and then attempt and fail to slit his throat. He survives, thank goodness. Predominantly white farmers are being targeted in South Africa. It is brutal. Show me anything tougher than a Boer. So I'll take a listen to this here in a little bit. It's 9 minutes long, so we won't watch the whole thing probably, but this is showing the reality of the situation of what's happening in South Africa. Once again, actual racial discrimination and violence happening down there. It just so happens that the people on that are being affected by it are white, and this is why big media doesn't want to cover the story.
Ons maak so 9 uur in die aande, maak ons klaar. En as ons klaar gemelk het,
you're gonna have to read the subtitles, you guys.
Dan
but
ry my werkers altyd met die bakkie huis toe. Ons het 54 werkers.
Okay, so they have 54 people who live on the farm.
Ons het hulle nie dorp toe gestuur soos baie ander boere nie. Maar 9 uur toe die bakkie besig is om weg te ry. Toe ek daar om hier kom, toe kom ek reguit na hierdie garage toe aangestap. En terwyl ek na die garage toe geloop het ek opgekyk en het ek dadelik agtergekom.
He realizes his dogs aren't with him.
Wat elke dag saam met my is by die stal die hele tyd. Ons begin so 4:30 in die môre te melk en ons maak vanaand so 8:00 se kant klaar. Toe ek hier om hier kom, toe kom my onder die lig uit.
Okay.
Die lig wat daar bo is. Onder hom is dit donker. En toe staan hy in die donker en hy kom uit die donker uit. En toe ek hom sien,
just truly frightening.
Hier is 'n probleem met my honde is nie by my nie. Maar die ou het in die lig gekom, toe gaan staan hy met sy arm so gevou. En terwyl hy met sy arm so gevou staan, toe besef ek.
He asks him, what do you want?
Wat soek jy? En toe ek voorhoor buk.
And they hit him with a heavy object in the back of his head. So if you guys weren't reading the subtitles, but this individual here explains how he was basically ambushed by 2 men there, and they tried to blunt force trauma him. Once again, this is simply for the fact that he is of European descent. This is a really serious issue that's happening there. No one wants to take it serious. Well, not no one, but people on the right side of the conversation want to take it seriously. Big media here in the United States, it doesn't. Here's another one, a farm attack in 2023. Farm south of, I can't pronounce this name, Mkuze. A 76-year-old man and woman were attacked by 4 black males with blue overalls. Okay, the woman opened the door and the 4 attackers burst in. CCTV cameras immediately disabled hard drive, mobile phone, wallet, and safe taken at gunpoint. And this is graphic. But as you can see, this individual was severely, harshly beaten. This is horrible. See? So, once again, for being white, okay? Serious issue. And I don't think we would have any issue taking these people into our country under refugee status. Lastly, I'll play this video here for you. I think this is a video of some some South African natives here trying to break into a farm here. Let's see if I can't make it larger, but you can watch this video right here behind me. So they're trying to go inside this compound here. And okay, see how they're trying that. They're like raccoons, they're like pests. They'll just find a way to break in. That's simply because they're motivated by a bloodthirst vengeance, you could say. These people are incredibly violent. That's really scary. I don't know. Who would want to live in South Africa at this point if you're white, right? Because you probably won't make it. And yes, there has been long-term evidence of land seizures as well. Again, people just don't want to talk about it. This is, once again, a serious issue. Jimmy Joe, Lawrence Southern Farmlands. Are you referring to some video she made about this, perhaps? That's something that we could probably watch. Targeting an elderly man, cowards. Yes, they target the elderly, quite violent people. Really unfortunate. So it's really big news that Donald Trump is taking this seriously. Like I said, he's a man of the people, and that definitely shows. He is a man of the people. By the way, you guys, if you are watching and you have a hankering for some caffeinated beverage, let me tell you something. I am drinking the Culturama. I'm sorry, I have to drink from a straw today because I am wearing lipstick and I don't want to smear my lipstick. But if you like coffee, and you just want to get going, we have Costa Rica sourced beans coffee, and it could be chilled and made into iced coffee. It could be drank hot. It could be drank with collagen or any other, type of filler you wanted. It will go good with almost anything. And this is the Culturama coffee, the Atomic Blonde Brew. I highly recommend you look into it. Getting it on the Culturama Collection shop on ap4libertyshop.com. Once again, that is ap4libertyshop.com. I'll be pulling up that later on the show today. And if you enjoy the coffee from Culturama, you can also enjoy it in a delicious the delicious coffee in a Culturama mug. So, once again, I hate to break the serious tone of the previous story. It was getting a little depressing, so I don't want to make you guys too sad. But if you do enjoy coffee, consider getting the Culturama coffee in the Culturama mug. But yes, hate crimes happening in South Africa all around, land seizures happening, and thank God that, once again, I cannot reiterate this enough, that President Trump is taking this seriously enough to consider. I really do hope that these people can find safety and solitude once again, especially the ones that are directly impacted by these violent crimes from the thugs of that region. And I really do hope that if they need a safe place to stay, they can come over here in the United States, okay? Yes, Stillbringer, it pisses me off too. Cecilia H. writes, it is a nice brew. I cannot wait to have it as a cold brew in warmer months. Yes, like I said, you can, make your coffee, put it in the refrigerator, and then pour it over ice as an iced coffee. I haven't done that yet, but I may do that, as like you said, Cecilia H., in the hotter months. It is really chilly where I live, and it has snowed. Hoping it won't snow that much longer, so I've been enjoying it quite warm. But anyway, also, you guys, goes a long way in sharing and liking the stream, so please do that as well. And I also saw a lot of comments. You guys were saying that you want me to play video games. It looks like we're all in consensus, so that is a good idea. And I did see some people agree that, some people say that Fallout was a good option. Like I said, it goes into the theme of the show, so I just might do that. But anyway, I want to talk about the DOGE staffer story. Okay, big news. Important that I covered this because it has happened the last few days and I missed it. It happened right after my last stream on Thursday. So what I'll do is I'm going to be covering this news story next. I hope you guys will stay tuned. I will be right back. I'll be pulling up those stories and take a little bit of a bathroom break, and I will be right back. Stay tuned, everyone. Please be sure to share the stream right now.
Oh, let's all gather around. It's that time of year where we dress in the past. It's rather sincere. We'll celebrate the blues and jazzy tunes with a wink and a nod beneath the full moon. It's Black History Month. Let's spin the records again. Swing to the beat as we pretend to comprehend.
Times are changing, feel the buzzing, staying true when they're fussing. Keep the flag a-flying through stormy nights. With the star-spangled banner, I stand tall with manners. Cross my heart with hope in sight. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and free, with liberty. Stick to values in the trends. Families gather, let's defend. Hold the line, keep the bond alive. Truth in our vision, in God we make decisions. For our dream, true, thrive and strive. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and free, with liberty. We'll keep fighting for what's right, standing strong in the night. Here comes freedom in the land of hope and bravery, with liberty.
In the diner, sipping soda pop, jukebox tunes that never stop. I see faces from different scenes, lost the cultures on a different stream. We walk down the same old street, but our stories never meet. Different worlds side by side in this twisting 50s ride.
Alrighty, we are back. Welcome to Culturama, everyone that is watching. If you're watching on Rumble, please like and share the stream if you can. We are not streaming on Twitter. The For Liberty Network has been breached. We have been hacked. Austin's Twitter has been hacked, so I cannot stream on Twitter, on X today, so my viewership is a bit down. So if you could help me out with that, please do. It goes a long way. And also send in a Rumble rant if you want me to directly answer any of your questions or cover any stories that you want me to cover. I have endless amount of time today, so because it is a Saturday, so I could stream as long as you want. Also, you know, I just goes a long way in supporting the stream as well. So thank you everyone that has joined and is continually talking about the stream and is a fan of Culturama. It is so very much appreciated. Anyways, also, as I talked about before I left on a commercial break, get yourself some Culturama coffee. It is the Atomic Blonde Brew. It is our best-selling item on the Culturama shop. We have the top premium Costa Rica coffee beans. They are quite delicious, and you can also top it off with some whipped cream, and you can drink it out of your very own Culturama mug. So that's something that I will be pulling up a little later on the stream so we can take a look at it together. But once again, that is the Atomic Blonde Brew on the Culturama shop, found on the ap4libertyshop.com. Anyways, is cancel culture finally dead? That is a question, and that is a topic and title of this stream because it is huge. We have huge news considering a DOGE staffer. Now, I will be, covering the story. Some of the tweets this individual has sent out isn't pretty. But once again, I want to reiterate that this staffer, he's a 25-year-old staffer, to give you a context of what's happening. He made some tweets on an alternate account, by the way, not with his real name and face, but an alternate account, and he has posted some things that people would find, politically questionable, and a little hurtful in some cases. But regardless, he's a young dude. He posted some things on an alternate account. Yes, it was unprofessional, but he wasn't using his professional name, his real name, or his picture. And yet, this was found out by a journalist. They published the story. This happened, I believe, Thursday night. Yes, I think the story came out Thursday night. It was after my last stream. And shortly afterwards, the staffer resigned after the story came out, and we all know what that really means. He didn't resign out of his own volition. His arm was twisted in doing so, and that's quite unfortunate. And people like Elon Musk were trying to post through it, but thankfully, the voices on X said that this simply isn't right. This is a young man. His entire political career, his entire professional career shouldn't be thrown away simply for a matter of a couple of tweets. Once again, and I want to reiterate this, on an alternate account. He didn't use his real name. And so this guy has been rehired. He is back in DOGE, and this is signaling something really huge. Do you guys remember just like a little over 10 years ago, especially when Gamergate was happening, which I'll be talking about on this stream later today, where one little tweet that you can make from years ago, this still happens actually to quite a degree, but this was first being pushed, as far as I'm aware, like the late 2010s, where one tweet can get you fired, and it could not only do that, but it could make you unhireable in a lot of industries. That was the tyranny that we were living under for so long. So this story being this big is really signaling not just to the left, but the entire professional industry here in the United States, and culturally wide, is that, yeah, mistakes happen, people are young, but ultimately that this tyrannical oversight that they had, particularly in politics and professional politics here in the United States, and that we can actually have conversations, and that cancel culture, or the tyranny of cancel culture, isn't going to rip apart our lives or make people completely unhireable. And hopefully that will be the case moving forward. But I wanted to touch on these stories here with you guys. So I have a few big articles, big brain articles here for you guys to cover. So let's start with this one. Staffer at Musk's DOGE resigns after racist social media posts exposed. Now, I have two news stories here. This one was the first one that I was going to cover. So let me read this out for you guys, okay? So this was before he was rehired back on DOGE. A staff member on this will give you guys some context of when this story first came out. A staff member on the Department of Government Efficiency Advisory Group, led by Elon, once again, tech billionaire. I don't know why they have to put out billionaire like it's some kind of title. By tech billionaire Elon Musk resigned Thursday after the Wall Street Journal, and a journalist within the Wall Street Journal broke this story, asked the White House about his connection to social media account that advocated for racism and eugenics. The DOGE staffer Marco Ilez, I called him Mark Ilez, but his name's Marco Ilez, earlier in the day has been approved by a federal judge along with another DOGE staff member to have access to the payment system at the U.S. Treasury, but the judge restricted his ability to share data from the system. The journal said that it has established links between a 25-year-old Ilez and a social media account on Musk's platform X that was deleted in December. Okay. Here are some of the tweets that this individual has shared. By the way, Musk is playing a major role in President Donald Trump to slash the federal government spending and employee headcount. Ilez has been designated as a special government employee. Okay, so here are some of the posts that this person has done. Once again, I will reiterate, this was under an alternate account. It was not with his real name or his professional name. For all intents and purposes, this was done behind closed doors, okay? Quote, "You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity," this individual tweeted in December. Another one says, "Normalize Indian hate." The account wrote the same month in reference to a post noting the prevalence of people in India and Silicon Valley. Okay, another tweet. Not the nicest tweets, I will admit, not the most professional. But, you know, once again, I want to state this individual is 25. He's a young man, and you know what? He's quite upset at the state of our country. He's quite upset, upset with the state of hiring practices here in the United States and how the H-1B visa program has ultimately put the foreign worker above American-born workers. And so, yes, he is disgruntled. He is upset. He is saying things that are questionable, unprofessional, and could be construed as racist. This young man is frustrated, and I'm going to say this, you guys, and maybe it's a bit spicy, but a lot of young men are saying this behind closed doors. This is how they feel right now. And this is kind of the reality of the situation that we're dealing with. And this is why we're seeing a lot of people in Generation Z, you know, get more involved in politics because they want to see major changes. They haven't felt like, and the generations before them even haven't felt like they were heard from the power players in DC and in other aspects of government for so long. They didn't feel like they were being heard or valued in the country, particularly young white men especially. So unfortunately, what that will do is arouse a certain anger and vitriol among these demographics of people. Anyway, moving forward. He wrote, "Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool." Again, everything that I'm saying is not justifying these tweets. I'm just explaining the reality of the situation. And the pearl clutching that is going on about this is actually quite funny, because if you talk to like any young man right now, particularly working in politics, this is sort of the sentiment that they share. They do have this absurdist, offensive humor, which is where I feel these tweets are coming from. But they are not just, actually they're beyond disgruntled. They're mad. They're mad, and they want changes to be done. Anyway, continuing. This is perhaps the most damning of the tweets here. It says, in June, the account tweeted, "I would not mind if all Gaza and Israel were wiped off the face of the earth." The White House spokesperson Carolyn Leavitt told the Journal that Ilez resigned after the Journal inquired about the account. The White House official confirmed Ilez's resignation to CNBC. So, yes, this is the unfortunate state. This was the unfortunate state of this story, but apparently, whether or not it is due to external pressure or whether Elon Musk or other staffers had a change of heart, but it looks like this young man, is back in business. Musk says that he'll bring back the DOGE staffer under fire for racist posts. Okay, let's read this story. I apologize for the cancerous website yet again. But anyway, Elon Musk said yesterday that he will rehire a former Department of Government Efficiency DOGE staffer who resigned after several of the aide's racist social media posts were exposed. Musk wrote on X that he will be brought back, the social media platform he purchased in 2022. To err is human, to forgive divine. That's powerful. So here's a tweet, everyone. Elon Musk, the salute emoji, and he said he will be brought back. This is J.D. Vance's post about this. And once again, Vice President of the United States, everyone. This is huge. He wrote, here's my view. I obviously disagree with some of Ilez's posts. Interesting. He wrote some. But I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life. We shouldn't reward journalists who try to destroy people ever. Exactly. So I say bring him back. If he's a bad dude or a terrible member of the team, fire him for that. Exactly. Fire him for inefficiency. Fire him for incompetence. Fire him for being a genuinely bad person. And actually going out of his way to, ruin people's lives, backstab people in the organization, get in the way of the functions of the organization. Don't fire him for being an Anon account on Twitter and making tweets where he's probably, obviously, honestly is coming from a very emotional place as a young man here in the United States, in the current present economic system of the United States. And, he probably can't even... he has a good job, but he probably can't even afford all the things that he wants to afford. Or he sees his friends struggling in a similar way. He sees a nation full of debt slaves that can't even find a job right now. He's been blessed with this job, I will tell him that much. So he probably should be a little careful with his presence on social media. And I'm pretty sure that this young man will learn this lesson here. But he shouldn't be fired for just being a stupid young guy online through an Anon account, okay? And like I said, are we so naive to think that young men aren't talking like this behind closed doors? Here's another breakdown of the situation to give you guys a little bit more context again, but this was tweeted by Lomez. He wrote a bit summary background. The hit piece that originally broke this story came from a, quote, journalist, Catherine Long, who joined the Wall Street Journal last week. And prior to that, did USAID work in Central Asia. There's a connection there. This was her first story at the Wall Street Journal, indicating someone stronger shopped it to her previously, and she brought it over to the new employer, even though it was far below WSJ, Wall Street Journal, standards. Also of note, she had deleted all of her own Twitter posts before 2023 and even forced archive.org to exclude her Twitter account by K Long from its archive database. So we may actually be dealing with a bit of a hypocrite here. He writes, I'm not drawing any conclusions here, but I find all this very curious. Curious indeed. So are we dealing, in fact, with someone that has a bit of skeletons in her closet that she doesn't want out there before she released this hit piece over some random guy working at DOGE? Barney Styles writes in the chat, I see your comment, Barney Styles. Barney Styles wrote, I love watching the left complain about the youth of DOGE while electing Hogg as vice chair and fawning over Greta for years. Exactly. The left obviously is imbued with their own hypocrisy here, and they are going to point fingers at, young men that are actually trying to make serious changes here in the country, and will rather promote questionable figures like David Hogg, who is quite severely bankrolled for his endeavors in politics as well. Someone wrote in Twitch, does someone have a picture of the tweets? I do not, but I can try finding them for you. John Drives Cars on Twitch. By the way, thank you for joining the chat, John Drives Cars. Really good to see you. I always love to see new faces on Culturama. Also, I did want to watch this video with you guys about the story. Also shows a bit of a how what I call big media is covering the story. Let's take a listen.
It posts an account that appears to be connected to that staffer, 25-year-old Marco Elez, posting in December, quote, I just want a eugenic immigration policy. In September, there was this, quote, normalize Indian hate. Coming to his defense today, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, whose wife and children, of course, are Indian Americans. Vance posted, quote, I obviously disagree with some of Elez's posts, but I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life. President Trump backing him up.
Wow.
Well, I don't know about the particular thing, but if the Vice President said that, did you say that? I'm with the Vice President.
So, of course, we see Trump here deferring to JD. He obviously trusts JD, quite a bit here. Never before have I seen a president do this, just nod over to a vice president like that and just say, yeah, I'll just take his word for it. Obviously, Trump has a lot on his plate. He probably just did it out of a state of ignorance, perhaps, but it does show the close connection and trust that he has entrusted with J.D. Vance, because also Trump perhaps already knows that J.D. Vance is perhaps more plugged in to a topic like this than he ever will be. And that comes from a place of wisdom, I like to think. But anyway, let's there's a lot more questionable conversation had here on this video, so let's take a listen.
Marsh is out front. So Renee, what more do we know about this DOGE staffer and frankly some of the other young engineers and staffers who are working for Musk?
Frankly, other young engineers and staffers, pay attention to how they're framing this. They are really emphasizing the lack of maturity that some of the staffers apparently suffer from. They're referencing their age quite a bit. They do not want younger men involved in these positions. They do not like the it's almost like a humiliation ritual that they have to undergo this, and also refer to the organization as DOGE as well. It's quite funny, but they do not like that we have the newer generation coming in, particularly of young men, conservative young men, which is the most frightening thing of all for these people. But their conversation is quite revealing about this topic.
Erica, the 25-year-old DOGE staffer is also linked to a social media post that calls for the repealing of the Civil Rights Act. We know that...
Based? I don't know. Is that based?
Marco Elez graduated from Rutgers University in 2021 and shortly after that began working at Musk's company SpaceX. And as a DOGE staffer, he was considered a special government employee. He had access to sensitive federal agency IT systems and data.
That is correct. He in fact did. And he is 25 years old and he is young and he is angry. Does that scare you? It probably should. It probably should scare you because this is indicating major changes happening in American politics. The changes that you guys are trying to prevent for so long and being afraid of. It is happening and it will continue to happen.
Similar to the slate of other 20-something-year-old engineers.
Once again, they just keep reiterating the age of these people as though it is relevant. I like to think that we are actually inviting the youth to be involved in politics and policy here in the United States. Mitch McConnell fell again just a couple days ago, and I don't know if he has much time left. I mean, do we want more people like that in office, or and making decisions for us and affecting policy for us, or perhaps we should get a new crop involved? People that are actually mentally functioning, cognizant, and once again, motivated to make real changes, not maintain the power structure and the control that they have maintained for so long, keeping the American public in the dark about many things, like we have seen, particularly to do with where our tax money is going to fund absolutely ridiculous programs like you see with USAID.
Who are on Musk's DOGE team, and it does not appear that he has any prior federal government system. But again, the DOGE team that Musk has compiled, again, it consists of these 20-something-year-olds or early 20s.
She's going to keep saying that.
Impressive accomplishments in the tech world. They're engineers, but again, there are novices when it comes to their experience in understanding the federal government and how it works. Musk's team includes a 23-year-old software engineer from Nebraska. He used AI, for example, to help decipher an ancient scroll buried for...
What does this have to do with the, again, maybe I'm a little confused here, but what does this have to do with the original story? I thought this was about, racist tweets. What does this have to do with the story? Why does she keep reiterating that these, are young men from Nebraska that don't know anything, are novices to the federal government?
For centuries, and there's another who was a runner-up in a hackathon contest last year.
They're not talking about just Marco Elez. They're talking about the entire situation. They're talking about all the young men that were staffed at DOGE. Okay? It doesn't have to do with Marco Elez. There's a bigger story being pushed here.
third is a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar startup. So that just gives you a sense of just, who these people are. I can tell you tonight here in Washington, D.C., there is high concern, especially from Democratic lawmakers on Capitol Hill, about the lack of transparency about who exactly is being hired under the DOGE team, the security and background clearances that they've undergone, what sort of data they're accessing, and what they're doing with that data. We just learned, and this is just coming in.
Anyways, this video is over 9 minutes long, so obviously I'm not going to watch all of it, and frankly, this woman is rather boring, but I just wanted to show you guys that because, again, I keep watching. When I was watching this originally, I thought to myself, what does the age of the individuals have to do with the story? I thought this was about racist tweets and a conversation about professionalism. It's not. They don't want young men involved, and that's becoming quite obvious, you guys. Okay, we are coming in to an hour of this stream. I wanted to check in on the chat, see how you guys are doing. They are lashing out, LOL, writes Steelbringer. Imagine how hard they had to dig to get those few tweets from last year from that one kid. Exactly. This is what happened. This journalist, quote journalist, wanted to find real dirt on the DOGE staff team because she probably saw that video of that young man with the dead Roman scrolls, if you guys saw that video, and she got a little peeved about it. This was a young white man in a position of power that is actually affecting, potentially her work if the WSJ is in part funded by staffers at USAID, who knows. But they're making real changes, and it peeved her a little bit. She wanted to find anything she could to defame these people, defame and defang them, and she tried. So yeah, inevitably with a young guy, you're gonna find a few disgruntled tweets out there linked to an Anon account. Again, it's an Anon account, and she's gonna pull that up and try to use it against them and try to paint like this entire organization, the entire agency is like this. That's the only way that they can do it. This is why people typically say that journalists are scummy, but yeah, that's the state that we are in right now. John Drives Cars on Twitch wrote, just started watching this stream, Liberty Channel. I must say, I'm loving watching someone pick apart these news frauds. Thank you so much, John Drives Cars. That is so appreciated. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching me on Twitch. It's not often I get comments or viewers on Twitch. Twitch is like the platform that I'm least popular on. So thank you for that. I am still surprised that I can stream still on Twitch. So it is very much appreciated. Thank you for that. Is Row House in the building? Hello, Row House. It is good to see you, Row House. And it looks like we already have $5 from Entropy Nomad. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Entropy Nomad. I had to change, as you can see, I had to change my money sound because the other one was It's copywritten. I can't use it for more than 5 seconds, and it just doesn't hit the same if I can't play it for the full 5 seconds. So I do appreciate that, Entropy Nomad. Thank you so much. Entropy Nomad wrote, Daniela, what would your gamer tag be if you had one? Yikes, Entropy, why did you ask me this? I have no idea, putting me on the spot here. That's a really good question. It would have to include, I have an alternative project. It's called a Dialectic Project. That's my name on Substack, on YouTube. And so I would name it perhaps just a Dialectic Project, because that's what I use my name for everything now. But for a more fun answer, I would have to be something related to Leo's name, or something to do with a Chihuahua. Perhaps like, I don't know, Atomic Blonde Chihuahua, something like that, On Godlike Productions, which is a conspiracy forum, I use the name, I think it was like Bioweapon Chihuahua Farts, something silly like that. So I always have some iteration of Chihuahua in there. We also have Steelbringer. Get someone in the chat subscription. Thank you what is this, Steelbringer? Did you do... Entropy Nomad was gifted a membership by Steelbringer. Thank you so much, you guys. That is wonderful. And thank you for your donation, Entropy Nomad. That is very appreciated. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. So I do have another more stories to cover with you guys, and I do want to once again thank you everyone for joining me on Saturday. I know it's a bit of a lazier Saturday today, but there was news stories that came out. I had to cover it. I'm trying to stream more this month. I'm trying to get at least 30 hours of streaming this month, so I'm going to work my darndest to do so. This is why I am thinking perhaps I can do maybe a video game stream tomorrow on Sunday. What do you guys think about that? Would you watch me play video games? Of course, I'll cover news and pertinent topics. I'll cover culture, maybe the arts, which includes video games. So I was thinking to do that so just I could, get some more stream time. But you guys let me know about whether or not that's something you think I should do. Anyways, but so far I've already been streaming for 1 hour and 15. So, I'm trying to rack those numbers up. I'm going to play your guys' favorite commercial break. I'll be right back. I'm going to be bringing up the next news story, which is, what do we have here? Yes, I do want to talk about the journalist, quote-unquote journalist, who broke out this story, and I want to talk a little bit about her and the Wall Street Journal. I will be right back, you guys. Just stay tuned. We have a lot more to cover about the cancel culture situation that we are facing and the death of it, as well as potentially the death of many journalists' careers. So stay tuned, and we will be right back with that.
Well, here comes Danny Yellow like Marilyn with a twist. She's got a master's degree and a style you can't resist. On Culturama, baby, we're shaking up the scene. So hit that like, make it click, you know what we mean. Like and subscribe, come on, don't delay. With Daniela at the helm, we're leading the way. It's Culturama, taking back tomorrow today.
You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors.
Mao ordered his citizens to throw off the 4 olds. Old thinking, old culture, old customs, and old habits. So, your whole life went in the garbage overnight, no biggie. And those who resisted were attacked by an army of purifiers called the Red Guard, who went around the country putting dunce caps on people. Yeah. Who didn't take to being a new kind of mortal being.
If you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
Well, things haven't been so sweet for Ben & Jerry's after the company posted an anti-American tweet, a few of them, on the 4th of July. The ice cream makers declared the United States was founded on stolen indigenous land.
Well, someone should tell Target that, because they're now selling swimsuits with tuckums in the women's section of the store. And they even have a line just for kids.
Yeah, we're going to reach out to Ben & Jerry's and ask them how they can live with themselves as they operate a multi-billion-dollar company on stolen land while declaring other people give up their so-called stolen land.
This is the child section. This is literally the kids section. I'm next to a literal onesie that says whatever the hell that means. We have glad you came out, and I'm so happy that you're queer. In the kids section. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, but pride and toddler don't belong in the same sentence.
Good news! Starbucks will offer its workers reimbursement of travel expenses related to accessing abortion and gender-affirming procedures.
Kyle Rittenhouse was seen wearing a Black Rifle Coffee Company shirt, and they wanted to distance themselves from that individual. Key employees at the company also were donating to Democrats. Hafer doubled down on throwing many in his base under the bus, describing them as racist and a repugnant group of people.
Hey, Liberty lovers.
Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome to Culturama, where on this show we are reclaiming the zeitgeist. It is so good to see a wonderful audience here today engaging with the stream. We have already covered the cancellations, or the cancellation of cancel culture with the DOGE employee Marco Alez coming back to work at DOGE. I wonder how awkward it is. Hopefully not too awkward, but I'm so glad to see that there are major changes happening in the culture, which we can actually acknowledge that, disgruntled young men may say things that are a little bit racy and heated, but that's simply because they want the entire system to change for the benefit of the American people. There's nothing else that they can do. When you cage an angry animal, it will lash out. So clearly, when you have an Anon account, you will probably say some things that are a bit heated. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay to feel like that you are can share your opinions, at least behind closed doors, which is why they had that Anon account. No, I do not agree with the things that he was saying, and I do not like some of the things he said, but it's also completely natural that this has happened, and it makes complete sense. And so anyway, I just wanted to bring that back home to you guys. But before I get to the next story, which does have to do with the journalist that broke the story, I wanted to share a couple things with you guys. First of all, please like and share this stream. It goes a long way in spreading this content and also growing my audience. So it would be very much appreciated. Now, excuse me here. I also may end up eating on stream a little bit because I am starving, and I apologize. It is dinner time for me, so please do not mind. I hope you guys won't mind. But I also wanted to include a little bit of the grift shop. I have been talking about the coffee. Culturama has its own coffee, everyone. It is called the Atomic Blonde Roast. I think I will bring that up after this next story. But also, we have other wonderful, amazing things. We have Culturama pillows. We have sweatshirts. We have wonderful mugs, like the one that I am having right here with the Culturama coffee. There I am with the Raygon. If you love these things and more, if you want to get your own Culturama plushie, feel free to do so in joining the ap4libertyshop.com. Once again, that is the ap4libertyshop.com, where you can get yourself the coffee, the pillow, the sweatshirt. There's a small body pillow of me as well, so that exists. That's out there. That exists. So that's something to consider also. So please consider joining the grift shop. I will be pulling that up a little later. Also, if you guys want to see something really weird, we also have the Leo the Beast meter. It is set at $60. I don't know if we'll reach it today, but if you want to see my dysgenic beast, please consider donating him, so I will pull him out a little later on the stream. But, he is an old man. He cannot come out every single time, so that's him screaming. The ransom amount is at $60, by the way, you guys. Anyways, so I did want to cover this... Hold on a second. I do want to cover this journalism story. So let me pull that up here. Okay, so interestingly enough, since USAID is basically down now, or they've at least been pulling back on their funding, all of a sudden, a lot of journalists are leaving their positions. Why is this? Let's take a look at this. This person tweeted, "Damn, shitlib, excuse my language. Shitlib journalists are being laid off at HuffPost. I wonder why." And he tweets to this, or he links to this individual. Miranda Green, if that is your real name, this is what she wrote. "A month ago was my first day at HuffPo as national investigative reporter. What I thought was a new chapter for me. Today I was laid off. As part of cuts they announced 3 hours into my first day. Yikes. I was just gearing up to dig into 3 investigations. If your newsroom is hiring, reach out." Yeah, that is really sad, but there is no mercy for the wicked, and as we all know, journalists are quite wicked. Here's another one. "Over at HuffPo, climate change journalism is out, financial responsibility is in." This person tweeted, Alexander C. Kaufman. This is what he wrote. After 11 years, my time spent at HuffPo is coming to an end. Last week, I learned that HuffPo would be ending its dedicated coverage of energy and climate change. This comes right after the world hit 1.5 degrees Celsius. The temperature above pre-industrial norms that most nations on Earth wanted to keep warming from exceeding. In the United States, the country most responsible for the cumulative, excuse me, I cannot read today as usual, responsible for the cumulative carbon added to the atmosphere, we are at the dawn of a massive upswing in electricity demand from data center. Okay, I do not care about what he's saying right here. Excuse me. Okay, he has a lot of this environmental jargon, and then he continues to say, but it won't be at Huffington Post. Last Friday, I requested a buyout. Thanks to our union contract, I'm walking away with an enviable runaway by even the standards of some of my friends and professions with a far better pay than journalism. Well, thank goodness for you. I'm glad you're enjoying that. When I arrived at HuffPo in 2014, I was a nervous 22-year-old shaken by the brutal experiences with past bosses and the misfortune of entering a job market at the tail end of the Great Recession. Within a year, I was on staff, running the business vertical on my own weekends, living my first apartment in Brooklyn, and helping organize a union that ultimately delivered me the security I'm benefiting from today. But even before this latest upheaval, I was still feeling restless. He talks about his life with his wife. So anyway, this individual had to leave there we go. There's the union. Wonderful imagery right there. They always have to have the fist raised up, don't they? So there's another journalist that left. Now, a lot of this people have been indicating could be related to the USAID cuts that have been done, and we do not know one way or another or if this is happening or if this is at all related. This is all just speculation. As we have been seeing in the last couple months now is that there have been major cutbacks in big media. I like how CNN just said reliable sources. That's funny. But CNN has cut back on staffing. CNN, Associated Press, Washington Post, HuffPo, now Politico, but what else was on there? And I think Bloomberg, they have been doing major cutbacks, and people have been speculating why. This is before the USAID stuff, you guys. This was like from last month. And they've been making cutbacks, and the major reason for that is because people don't consume that type of media anymore. They're just not. So I think what this is in relation to with these journalists leaving their positions is that, yes, perhaps in part they were receiving money from dirty sources. And by dirty, I mean literally stealing it from us. However, I also think it has to do more so with the fact that there have been major cutbacks being done in big media because people just don't want to consume that type of information anymore. Now people are regularly getting their information from podcasts, from streamers like yours truly, from Twitter and social media platforms. They do not want to get it from a source that has been proven multiple times now, many times, that they outright lie to you, give you half-truths, are deceiving you in any way that they can to mar the real story and the real situation. And not only that, but they have outright ruined people's lives. As we have just seen, one of them just tried to ruin a young staffer's life just a couple days ago. So not only that, but I also believe that a lot of people want to actually directly interact with the news that they are viewing. This is why I think streamers and political streamers are getting a big boom right now, is because, like you guys see, you interact with me in the chat. I read your guys' opinions. I read your donos. I'll cover stories that you guys want covered, and I will, of course, given that I am fully independent and the network that I am part of is fully independent, will give you my raw opinion on it. And there is no agenda really involved here, okay? Whereas with a lot of these sources, a lot of these media companies is that there is a prime agenda being held, and this is why they give you deceptive or they deceive you, and they give you information that is just not entirely accurate. Like we have just seen with CBS News and the Afrikaner situation, they didn't really explain or show you the real nature of what's happening in South Africa. But like this article here pretty much explains that the cutbacks, for instance, that has been happening in Washington Post. The Washington Post lays off roughly 100 staffers as star journalists exit. The Washington Post on Tuesday laid off roughly 100 employees. This was happening at the same time that CNN cut back, I think, like 200. The Washington Post laid off 100 employees, the latest indication of the newspaper's financial woes after subscribers and staffers revolted over owner Jeff Bezos' decision to block an endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris. This is an older news story, obviously, but the cuts amounted to roughly 4% of the publication's staff. And it did not affect the newsroom, a spokesperson with the Post said. But yes, there's a 4% cutback. I believe CNN had about the same, a 3 to 4% cutback as well. Like it also mentioned, Associated Press as well had about the same. So they're doing small cutbacks, but they are cutbacks nonetheless. And that's mainly because that they're not making any money. So, it's a really big deal here. We are seeing a real-time change of media happening in front of our own very eyes here, you guys. This is huge. And with this USAID stuff now coming out and seeing how they're also funding various propaganda campaigns, not just across the world, but domestically as well, which we will come to see with the Gamergate situation, with the video game situation. Culturally, they're trying to change us and give us deceptive truths as well. You can best bet that a lot of the American public will certainly not be consuming this media upon realizing that it turns out that the federal government actually funds propaganda campaigns to literally psyop us into holding certain positions and agreeing with certain agendas. So this is the state that we're in right now in America. And so there is a major shift happening, not just politically or having to do with policy, but it does have to do largely as well with culture. And it has to do with the discourse that is happening here with media. Yes, there has been distrust in media for a long time in the United States, but right now it is happening now more than ever, and things are actually being done about it. So that is huge, I think, and that's pretty exciting. All right, let me jump in the chat here with you guys. Wow. Steelbringer wrote, "To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear their lamentation of their woman." Steelbringer, you are quite vitriolic. Very good to hear. What else did you guys say here? Steelbringer, you also wrote, "Just a year ago, they would have kept going after Marco. Kid likes a sexist meme. Bam, canceled. All the while, Congress people are still having Coke borgies." I think you mean orgies on there. That is exactly right, Steelbringer. Unless, in the past, and it's still happening a bit now, unless you are embedded in certain networks and you are blessed with, holding a certain position or knowing certain people, you will be outright canceled, and you will be cut from all sources of professional entanglements, or any ability for access to upward mobility will be primarily cut from you, simply because all you had to do was just like a meme back then, right? So very concerning that we were living in those times, and I really do think that we will look back on that and see that this was actually quite a primitive way of dealing with stuff like this, because it just completely stifled discourse, and there was no way that we could shape the zeitgeist or affect it. They were essentially like castrating our ability to really affect conversations at all here, culturally and politically. So it's really beautiful to see that our vice president even came out and said, actually, no, a young man should be able to make mistakes or say things online in an Anon account if that's how he feels. And Even so, some of his opinions were a bit offensive, yes. But, you know, that's okay. Guess what? It didn't hurt anyone. It didn't kill anyone. He was sharing his opinion, and that's okay. It's okay to share your opinion online. And I think that's quite of a powerful move that Vance has done, because it is signaling, in large part, a massive change that we are seeing in the zeitgeist right now. Anyways, I know I'm harping on this quite a bit, but I do think that it is very important to discuss. But going forward on this stream, I wanted to cover the Gamergate situation, everyone. So it turns out that our money has been going towards literal psyops and propaganda campaigns, and it has been burned. Our money's actually going to a nothing business as well. I want to cover that for you guys. I will be right back. It's a 2016, Mr. Pig writes. We have just thrown ourselves back into 2016 and 2015. Yes, we are going to be talking about Gamergate. And this, some of you old head, you have to kind of be an old head in the chat to know what I'm talking about. So I will be covering this. But thank you so much, you guys. I will be right back. I'll be pulling those stories. Just stay tuned. We will be talking about Gamergate, and you may have not heard her name in a while, but Anita Sarkeesian. And I will be talking about video games a little bit because I do want to do a video game stream. So throw me a few suggestions in the chat. I was thinking perhaps, you know, Fallout. It does go with the aesthetic of the show, but if you guys have any other opinions, let me know. I will be right back, everyone. Stay tuned.
In the heart they gather strong, pushing back the lefty strong. With the red banner held high, marching forward through the night. Promises of old will keep, as the donkeys start to weep. Stars and stripes forever sway, in the land of the brave we stay. We've got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down.
With a flagpole planted firm,
golden dreams that won't decay,
marching proudly through the day.
In the eagle's shadow by, we find our strength and take our pride. Let the voices echo loud, tearing through the waiting crowd. We've got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down. Across the plains and mountains tall, hear the victory call. With courage and with might we strive, in the light of freedom's guide. We got the power now, in the heart of every town. We've got the power now, the Reds are going down.
Well, here comes Daniela like Marilyn with a twist. She's got a master's degree and a style you can't resist. On Culturama, baby, we're shaking up the scene. So hit that like, make it click, you know what we mean. Like and subscribe, come on, don't delay. With Daniela at the helm, we're leading the way. It's Culturama, taking back tomorrow today.
You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors.
Mao ordered his citizens to throw off the four olds. Old thinking, old culture, old customs, and old habits. So, your whole life went in the garbage overnight, no biggie. And those who resisted were attacked by an army of purifiers called the Red Guard, who went around the country putting dunce caps on people. Yeah, who didn't take to being a new kind of mortal being.
If you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
Well, things haven't been so sweet for Ben & Jerry's after the company posted an anti-American tweet, a few of them, on the 4th of July. The ice cream makers declared the United States was founded on stolen indigenous land.
Well, someone should tell Target that, because they're now selling swimsuits with tuckums in the women's section of the store. And they even have a line just for kids.
Yeah, we're going to reach out to Ben & Jerry's and ask them how they can live with themselves as they operate a multi-billion-dollar company on stolen land while declaring other people give up their so-called stolen land.
This is the child section. This is literally the kids section. I'm next to a literal onesie that says whatever the hell that means. We have glad you came out, and I'm so happy that you're queer. In the kids section. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, but pride and toddler don't belong in the same sentence.
Good news! Starbucks will offer its workers reimbursement of travel expenses related to accessing abortion and gender-affirming procedures.
Kyle Rittenhouse was seen wearing a Black Rifle Coffee Company shirt, and they wanted to distance themselves from that individual. Key employees at the company also were donating to Democrats. Hayford doubled down on throwing many in his base under the bus, describing them as racist and a repugnant group of people.
Hey, Liberty lovers, stop scrolling, because if you're
Alrighty, we are back on Culturama. Thank you, everyone that has joined me on this super special Saturday stream. And I just see that we have 2 donations come in. Thank you so much to Entropy Nomad and to Row House. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Let me read these out loud. Okay, so $2 from Entropy Nomad. He wrote, Daniela, what type of gamer stream... Wait, well, hold on a second. What type of gamer stream are you working towards? What type of gamer are you? Entropy Nomad, that is a very good question. Now, I wouldn't say that I am like a huge gamer, but I do enjoy video games. I very much do like fighting games. I love Mortal Kombat. And that's dangerous for me to own, actually, because I will literally play it for hours and I won't stop. I like the Mortal Kombat. I also like platforming games a lot. I can get quite addicted to those as well. When Cuphead came out, I was a pretty big fan of that as well. But as to your question about what kind of gamer stream are you working towards, I was thinking, at least for this stream, that, you know, I'll play some Fallout. I'm trying to get some hours in this month to stream on Rumble. I'm trying to stream 30 hours this month. So I figured, if there's like not too many news stories I can talk about, because if I'm going to be streaming up towards to like 5 hours, I can't, yuck it up for the stream, talk about the news the whole time, but why not just sit back, relax, and play some games? So I may play Fallout just because it goes with the aesthetic of the stream. But thank you so much for your $2, Entropy Nomad. I really do appreciate your support and our conversations that we have. So thank you. And we have $5 from Rowhouse. Rowhouse wrote, Daniela, your guest the other day, Sarah Stock, has advice about marriage and the age to do it. Your thoughts? Rowhouse, thank you so much. Let me take a look at this. I will copy and paste the link here in a moment. Thank you so much, Rowhouse, for your support on the stream. I love seeing you. Oh, yes, this tweet, Rowhouse, exactly. I already commented on this tweet, but let me pull it up here. We could talk about it. It's cultural, maybe a little contentious. Thank you so much, Rowhouse. Let me play this. Okay, so Sarah Stock, I did have her on Thursday. If you guys weren't watching, I interviewed her. She is an independent citizen journalist. And so I talked with her a little bit about media. But so we didn't talk about this particular topic, but this is what she tweeted the other day. And I found it quite interesting. As you can see, I already liked it and commented. So you already see my thoughts down there. But let me read it out to you guys. She wrote, quote, men probably shouldn't wait until their mid-30s to get married either. All the good ones your age will have been married for a long time by then. And sorry, but unless you're super rich and attractive, girls in their early 20s will think you're old and weird. I wrote, unless they are wealthy, it's just as bad as women waiting too long. Okay, so Rowhouse, this is a can of worms you just opened up. I do appreciate it. I'll try to keep it brief. Yes, so there is this talking point that, women age like milk and men age like fine wine, okay? I'm just going to throw that out there, and I know my audience is primarily male, so I will try to be as tactful with my response as possible. I actually don't agree with that sentiment, not simply because I am a woman. So, actually, it's more so to do with the fact that I have personally seen this happen many times, especially with right-wing young men, which is quite unfortunate to see because a lot of them want to, get married and start families, and the dating market is abysmal right now, so I completely understand the sentiment that comes along with the idea that you have to be extremely selective with who you date and pursue relationships with. However, what I did find quite a bit is that particularly, men that do wait long enough simply because they think they can more than women. Yes, it is true. Men typically, they can reproduce later in their lives more than women do. At a certain age, women just can't reproduce. So unless you're talking about reproduction, that principle may apply. Men can wait longer. However, it's not, relationships don't just coast off of the promised reproduction, and that's quite obvious. What typically happens with young men is that they are only successful insofar as they have access to certain resources. And unfortunately, when men think that they have a longer time to wait until they get into a relationship, unfortunately, unless you have money, it's still going to be difficult. And what I do see often with men that wait long is that you will only have two directions. In one direction will be what happens when women wait too long, is that they will not really be successful anyway, and they will be looked at as kind of weird and off-putting. The other direction is that, this is given that the man isn't wealthy, right? The other direction is that he will have to be with someone far younger than him because she is more easily manipulated. That's ordinarily what happens with relationships like this, particularly when there's like an age gap. And, you could say that that's fine, and that really depends on your taste. If you want someone that is, quite a bit younger than you by like 10 years or more, that's fine if that's something you're going for. And, she is easier to handle. But at a certain age, she won't be easier to handle, and that's when things happen. That's when, adultery happens. That's when she becomes unhappy in the relationship. That's when she, talks with her friends or to a psychologist and realizes that she may want to pursue other things, or she wants to, now these days it's an open relationship. So I understand that marrying or being with someone significantly younger is perhaps attractive in a lot of ways, but it doesn't really last long. And statistically speaking, the greater the age gap, the higher the divorce rate. And I think the rule is past 10 years. I will have to go back and look at those stats, but last I've read, it seemed, I think it was like a 10 to 12 year situation, age gap. That's when divorces like skyrocket. And a lot of those relationships, the woman was far younger when she got married. So unfortunately, you know, unless you strike out lucky and you have someone that just, I suppose, maintains a certain innocence all their life, you can get away with it. But unfortunately, age gap relationships aren't the best thing. I fundamentally believe so. But yes, unless a man has access to certain resources, even him waiting long enough isn't the best deal either. But of course, I also will want to point this out. That's not all people and that's not all relationships. Exceptions often, they don't often occur. That's why they're exceptions, but exceptions do occur. And I firmly also believe that people are maturing a bit later these days due to various reasons. But this is why people are getting married longer, and that does relate to the culture that we live in and the education system that we're living under and have to comply with. So yes, it does also affect the conversation a bit, but I also do firmly believe that just out of merit of being born in an age with so much technology that we have, people are also maturing a bit later, and it's probably best if they wait a bit later, men and women. But you also don't want to wait too late, right? So you have to find that sweet spot. But I see that the chat is popping off here, so I want to read you guys' comments about that. But that's my opinion on a row house. Thank you for that wonderful question. I hope that answered it, and I didn't upset too many people off. But those are just my honest thoughts. Let me see. Row House asking best age to be married now would be between 25 and 30. You know what, Row House? I cannot answer that question. I think it's different for everyone, but what I will say is this, and I'm getting a bit off topic here from what I wanted to talk about, which is Gamergate, but I do think this is important, and it's a topic I frankly think about a lot. I think that the education system and our culture heavily emphasizing that everyone should go to college is largely pushing the idea that we should get married later. And I firmly believe that most people should not go to college or are built for college. Some people are built different. Some people should go to college and are more academics, right? I think that's like 30% of the American population, men and women. Okay, I'm not just talking about girls here. I'm talking about men and women. 30%, maybe it's less so for women, but like around 30% should pursue academia, should get into more higher positions of power that require more specialization, that require more time out of their lives to pursue those fields. The remainder, 70%, I think are getting into a pickle because they are pushing out their reproductive years and they're pushing out their dating years to pursue school, which a lot of them just aren't passionate about and they don't want to, right? And then on alternative, they become a debt slave, and that's a big problem. So if we could arrange culture in a way where we identify those 30%, I think it's 30%, 30% of individuals to go to college, I think the remainder of the population would not wait until 25 to 30 to get married. They would get married 18, 19, 20, 21. I really do think. And I think a lot of people are fit for that. Perhaps in like the mid 20s too. But when we're talking about late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, which is fine, but I just don't think that is best for everyone, for most people. I think most people, your average salt of the earth American that, have a certain IQ level, have a certain track that they're driven towards. They shouldn't go to college. They shouldn't put off their, put off relationships and family building in their 20s because that's just not what they're fit for. There's a percentage of people that do have to put that off, men and women, and that's fine. But for some reason in our culture, we have this blanket view of the situation where we think that everyone is at 30%. And that's what's also killing our country. So that's my opinion on that. So, Grow House, to answer your question, I think 25 to 30, I suppose right now that's sort of a good middle ground right now, yes. But it just depends on the individual. Obviously, I can't make that assertion for everyone. I don't think there's a one size fits all is what I'm trying to say. Rowhouse writes, harder now to be financially or economically set up until age 30 or older. This is also true, yes. This is why the conversation about women having to wait until a man is financially set up and, it goes both ways. I mean, it's a give and take. If the woman should reproduce, the man should provide. That's sort of like the arrangement that's like traditionally happening, and that's nature. So I guess it just depends on the values of the. This is why I'm a big believer in equating values with one another. You have to have values and goals set up in the same place, or you are going to have a lot of strife in the relationship. And we teach young women and young men in our culture the wrong thing. I think that the ultimate thing that we should teach people, particularly young women, because they usually select who's successful and who isn't in these arrangements, they should learn that values is what matters the most, and certain goal setting, not so much what each person can provide materially. It's so much what they how they align in terms of values and in terms of I also believe that culture, you have to have similar culture, cultural backgrounds, similar values, and also similar upbringing. If you have someone that, comes from a completely broken home and has really bad relationship with their family, or perhaps was even abused, be with someone that had none of that experiences, and you put them together, even though they may love each other, it's going to be a very negative relationship. I've seen it happen all the time. And unfortunately, that's just the case. You have to be with someone that can relate to your experiences. That's what we should be teaching people, I believe. And I don't know, a lot of this I feel like is common sense. Anyways. John Drives Cars writes, I think if two people do it right, the marriage can be great. Me personally would want to marry someone close to my age, however. Yes, you can adopt as well. Exactly. John Drives Cars. You can adopt, and that's what people should seek first before, they do the, what is it called? When you have someone else have your child. It's escaping me right now. I can't think of it. You guys know what I mean. That's like a big topic of political discussion lately. Surrogacy. Right. There it is. People should seek adoption before surrogacy. I'm a firm believer in that. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of children that need homes. But yes, obviously, there are situations where you can have people from different backgrounds, as much as you can have people from different generational experiences. You can have great relationships that way. But again, those are the exceptions, and that's just something that we should all be aware of. Yes, row house surrogacy. Is it surrogacy? Is that the word I'm looking for? Yes, surrogacy. Rowhouse, is this based on children too? A female starts losing fertility past age 30. It depends on the female and her genetic. It depends on the female and her familial history when women typically get menopause. But women can go well into their 40s and still be fertile. There is a possibility of complications. There's greater possibility for complications the longer you wait. But however, it really just depends on the individual. Honestly, there's no way of telling, because a lot of women in the past also had children well into their 30s and were fine, historically speaking. That was also back then when women had more children and they had to reproduce more to, deal with certain issues. And particularly familial deaths in the family. This is back when, we had children raising children. But especially age 35, it really depends. I know women that were fertile into their 40s, actually. I'm not saying you should have children in your 40s, but it does happen. But it's not as though if a woman hits 30, she's infertile or she starts declining rapidly. But it is best practice for women to reproduce in their 20s. It is best practice. So True, some women are still getting pregnant into their 40s now. Well, it's not just now. It's always been the case, Row House. It's always been the case that way. It's just that there's a greater likelihood of complications if you wait longer, and that just depends on your. It honestly, it's a case by case basis, and I'm not going to pretend like I know a lot about this subject. I've just heard of people do this. But what I will say is it does depend on the individual status of their health. If they're a moderately healthy individual, you shouldn't be having too many complications. Also, if you don't have familial genetic history of certain issues, then it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But best practice to do it earlier, obviously. And this is why I think that we shouldn't tell every woman that they should go to school, or every man for that matter, because they don't need to go to school. Once again, I really hold firmly to that 70-30 rule, where there's that 30% that should, there's that 70% salt of the earth individual that shouldn't. Okay, we have another donation by Entropy Nomad. Thank you so much, Entropy Nomad. You wrote, if you want more than 2 kids, start in your 20s. My vote for Fallout New Vegas. Thank you so much, Entropy Nomad, for your vote there. Yes, if you want a big family, I do agree with this. If you want a big family, if you want more than 2 kids, it's best practice to do that, absolutely. However, if it's a person that just wants, a one-time kid, I mean, if they just want 1 kid, then, or maybe couple, it's really not that necessary. It just, you have to be wise about how you time these things, obviously. Okay, not often I discuss a reproduction on my show. Thank you for the wonderful questions, you guys. I really do appreciate this engagement in the chat. It does fill my heart with joy to see people tune in and have these conversations. I hope that my opinions aren't too off-putting, but I have to make sure that my laptop is charged. Hold on. Okay. I don't want the stream to shut down in the middle of it. Anyways, I wanted to talk about Gamergate. Speaking of video games, Barney Styles writes, there are only 500 people in the world. What does that mean, Barney? That's certainly not the case. I did want to talk about the Gamergate and Anita Sarkeesian story. So I know we're hitting up to 2 hours, but I really did want to talk about this. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in. Thank you so much for your guys' donations and questions. Oh, first, before we get into the Gamergate story, I also wanted to talk about this journalist that we just discussed before this long conversation about marriage and reproduction. The one that broke out the DOGE story and the young staffer who made those racist comments or those offensive tweets. It turns out her name was Catherine Long, and in case you were wondering, this person wrote, the answer is yes. The journalist who doxed the DOGE staffer pushed for wokeness and diversity in what else? Video games. Here we go. Oh, can I click on this image or not? I can't. Oh, there we go. So here she is, Catherine Long. Okay. And then in this other article, and a second ever article at Paste Magazine was about making women less attractive in video games. Is this really the same journalist? This seems too insane. So, yes, it seems to be the case that there is a major attack on video games happening here, as we are all used to. Okay, this looks like she logged her account here. Okay, so this is a real story I want to talk about with you guys. I don't know if you guys know who Carl Benjamin is. He is Sargon of Akkad, as he is known on YouTube. But he has found that Feminist Frequency, up until 2023, has been receiving funding from the government. Okay? Over $200,000. You guys, if you don't know what Feminist Frequency is or Anita Sarkeesian, I will explain that to you. But a lot of old heads would have to remember this. If you're a bit younger on the stream, you may not know this on the top of your head here. But let me inform you. So there was this thing called Gamergate, okay, that happened quite a number of years ago. And in response to that, there has been sort of this leftist attitude in the video gaming world that's trying to basically make video games more inclusive and more, you could say, feminist. And this is where this individual named Anita Sarkeesian has come out. I actually don't have her YouTube channel pulled up, but this is her website. But hold on, let me see if I have yes, here we go. So this is Anita Sarkeesian. Okay, so she started this organization called Feminist Frequency, where it was supposed to do cultural analysis actually, on video games and talk about how essentially they were not feminist. And this completely alienated a good portion of people that consume and enjoy video games, obviously, which is primarily male. But it had started up, there was basically a response to the Gamergate situation, which I am not going to explain fully because it is utterly complicated, but it was essentially a propaganda campaign to basically, how would I say this, frame gamers as these, evil men that are essentially opposed to any concept of, I guess you could say it was kind of like this DEI-ification of video games that was occurring back in the early 2010s to mid 2010s. And so in response to that, you do have this individual named Anita Sarkeesian, which I will pull up her information right here. And I'm sure a lot of people that are watching my stream here will be aware of what I'm talking about right now, but I'm just giving context for those that don't know. But as this Wikipedia article explains, here's this individual, and it calls her a feminist media critic. Then she's a founder of Feminist Frequency, a website that hosts videos and commentary analyzing portrayals of women in popular culture. She basically just focused on video games, okay? And I wonder if I can pull up her YouTube channel. Maybe I will a little later. But this is the website of the organization. And if you can just look up here, this pink bar, it says that Feminist Frequency officially closed its doors in 2024 after 15 years of operations. Okay, so it officially closed. But so up until that time, you would think, like, were they producing a lot of content? Were they being really effective in their outreach and what they were doing, right? But they did not produce any content. Hold on a second. Look at this. Since 2013, 2014, 2016. 2017 was the last time that this individual, Anita Sarkeesian, had made her video analysis and her cultural commentary on the state of video games in the Greater West and I suppose the East as well. But 2017 was the last time that she has put out any content or any media content about this. And again, this was the entire point of the project of Feminist Frequency. They were supposed to make this, cultural commentary and put out videos. And it turns out that we have been giving them money up until 2013. Once again, you look at this picture. Okay, $200,000 right here, 2013. So our taxpayer dollars has been going towards an organization. By the way, I don't even understand why the government want to fund this. It's just a propaganda campaign. But it has been going towards an organization that has been defunct essentially since 2017. And also, this is kind of a bit alarming, but she also has been largely crowdfunded for her projects as well. So I don't know if you guys can read this, but Brian Banks, he was wrongly accused of rape at the age of 16. He spent most of his youth in prison. His accuser had support from feminist groups. He has little to no support. He had 279 backers, totaled up to 13,000 for the legal challenges that he was facing. But this Anita Sarkeesian individual that is supposedly a feminist cultural critic that was supposed to put out pieces of analysis that it hasn't since 2017, has been routinely crowdfunded up until now. She has over 6,000 backers and has raised over $100,000. Okay? So and it's not only the government funding her, it's also people funding her straight out of their pockets, even though they already have been doing so through taxpayer-funded research. But as it goes to show, people are also not the best judgments of character and also are sheep. But this really is really depressing here, considering that this poor man had to go through what he had to go through and could only muster up to get a little over $13,000. And of course, this is Asmund Gold's take on the entire situation. But let's take a listen to what he has to say. But I'm sure all of us can share his sentiment about leaving our video games alone. Let me play this here.
So millions of... Look right here, and I'll show you. Like, people think I'm fucking crazy. I'm not. Look at this. People wonder our tax dollars used to promote wokeness in video games. Answer is yes. USAID paid Politico millions of dollars a year to write pieces like this one, which promotes diversity and describes Gamergate as disinformation and harassment campaign. So this is the thing, guys. I want these people to suffer because that's what they did to me. I want to set an example. Get rid of these people. Put them completely out of their jobs. Get rid of them. Make an example of them. Say, listen, this is what happens. Gamers rise up. What goes around? Yep, what goes around comes around. And we're coming. Look right here, and I'll show you. People think I'm fucking crazy.
So, I have no issue with what he just said there. Yes, it is true that the journalists have all been in on promoting this idea, the Gamergate propaganda machine that has come out against, the people that originally came out with the story of Gamergate, is what I mean. But all these people crying about public funding towards these propaganda campaigns, crying out that this shouldn't be happening and we shouldn't cut back, and people are losing their jobs and they're losing their positions and they're going to be professionally inept for many years to follow. I share his sentiment in saying that they have went out of their way to make people's lives a living hell, even if it relates to something like a simple hobby like video games, and they should most definitely suffer. And this is sort of like the karma that they're facing right now for pushing that agenda. And once again, literally burned money on a project that did not make any content since 2017. Okay? They still gave them money. They shut down Feminist Frequency. Yeah, because it literally did nothing. That's why they kept it open for so long, since 2017 up until 2023, is because they were just routinely getting money from the government. On top of that, she was being crowdfunded individually. Anita Sarkeesian was. So she's a pretty big crook. This person right here is a face of this one right here is a face of a crook, by the way. Just so you guys can all point and laugh. Entropy Nomad Road, yes, now you know how it feels. Exactly. Hopefully Kash Patel's his oversight of the FBI will hopefully look into a lot of these criminal actions, is what I like to consider it, because they are just literally stealing money from us. He just wanted to play video games, everyone. So yes, when I talk about how USAID directly targets peripheral countries and they are introducing and exporting toxic elements of our culture into theirs, and they're trying to subvert and undermine those governments and cultures, goes to show they didn't do nothing different there as what they do right here. Even here domestically, they have been pushing these campaigns towards towards a cultural movement that was supposed to be about, journalistic integrity as it pertains to video games. And they just called it all, they all called it misogynistic, anti-woman, because even back then they were trying to DEI-ify the video game industry, which you could even argue that in terms of like the people that developed the games, they primarily did. I mean, you see the non-binary characters that they're putting in video games, which has nothing to do with the lore of the story or, the gameplay. It's literally just there. I didn't have any clips pulled up, but maybe I can pull those up a little later. But I'm sure you guys are aware of that. You probably see it float around on Twitter. So they do try to, include the DEI agenda in the video game industry as well, which is a major facet of our culture. And so they're trying to undermine our culture by introducing these elements and fund campaigns and programs like Feminist Frequency, which they saw a lot of potential in directly changing and effacing that fundamental block of our culture. And so they wanted to fund projects like these to go in and completely subvert it, like they are exporting that into other nations as well. So that's what we've been facing for many years, and that's what has been exposed. And I'm glad that journalists are losing their jobs, and I'm glad that organizations cannot function anymore, because as it comes to show that they directly go after our culture and try to subvert it, and they're using our money to do it. And I don't know what else can radicalize people, against the present system that we live in, because that's absolutely ridiculous. Alrighty. Oh, and yes, I did have a couple more stories that I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to check in on the chat here. Thank you so much, you guys, for your wonderful donations and questions. I really do appreciate it. I also had this other story that I wanted to cover, which is a little bit more lighthearted. Is this what I wanted? Not that. No. I'm sorry if I'm blinking my eye a little bit. My contact has a tear in it, but I did not want to come on this stream with glasses, so I decided to wear my contacts anyways. But it's bothering me a little bit right now. Entropy Nomad asked, did Gamergate lead to the God Emperor Trump? That is a pretty big question, Entropy. You could argue that Gamergate was one of many cultural movements that did lead up to the popularization of Trump. There was quite a few cultural movements that, when this was happening and transpiring, I was in college when it was happening. It was like my first quarter in college, and I remember I wasn't like completely involved. I didn't have a Twitter account at the time, but I did, watch YouTubers cover it, and I followed it. And my direct experience with Gamergate was quite interesting. And, I would watch people like, at the time he was known as Internet Aristocrat, known as Mr. Medicare, cover it. He was a major figure in it, as well as other figures in the online right, you could say, that were involved in Gamergate. And so that was my direct experience. But I did see how there are cultural ties, or subcultural ties rather, between like the Gamergate movement and other movements that led to the alt-right, that led to the initial success of Trump in 2016, that retained itself forward in like the dissident right, and more so towards other right-wing and conservative circles in the United States. And I actually write about this. I think that a lot of like the populist right has originally come from the Paulites, or the Ron Paul people, especially during the Occupy Wall Street days. Because if you do follow the thread of influence in conservative populism, you can see how it really starts there and then leads on towards supporting Trump later on in 2016 and onward. So it's really interesting. There's this really interesting book called... Here it is. Oh, whoops. There's this really interesting book called Meme Wars that actually explains it in a lot of depth. And even though it is written by, you could argue, leftists, so I don't like some of the framing they use in this book, but it does do a good job in documenting how certain online subcultures have led to the success of Trump and to the present conservative status that we are facing right now culturally. So I do recommend this book if you're interested in it, and like how the online world affects conservatives and, well, the conservative movement, and affects politics in general in America. Like I said, I don't appreciate some of the framing in it because I do suspect that it's leftists who wrote the book, but I do very much appreciate the research that they put into chronicalizing the figureheads that were involved in it. So anyway, but I'm talking a lot about I am being a nerd. Someone said, let's see nerd Daniela. I am a nerd, actually. I don't know if you're talking about me right now or video games, but I can talk a lot about the books that I read, and I don't want to bore too many people. But I did want to... Let's not talk about books. Let's talk about pizza, you guys. Did you see this? This is kind of an old story, but I thought it was... I had some pizza right now. Did you guys hear about this story? A Pizza Hut in Taiwan knows it's making Italians angry. From stinky tofu to Oreo calamari, there's a method to specialty pie madness. So whenever Pizza Hut Taiwan releases a new flavor, the internet braces itself. In my decade of covering online islands... I'm sorry, I can't read. Forgive me. In my decade covering the island's food scene, I've noticed a few dishes sparked excitement and outrage. Haven't seen it before, like their pies. One commenter on Reddit called for their 2022 scalloped pizza with Oreos around the edge and deep fried chicken and calamari studded throughout the middle, a crime against humanity. Okay, let's read about this turtle. I want to read about this turtle. Where's the turtle? Here we go. In spring of 2024, their latest creation, a turtle-shaped sticky rice pizza with mugwort and red bean. What is this link to? That's a commercial we'll come back to in a second. Oh. Okay.
本身这边有一个，这个我不能念。这个有红豆馅，然后还有芝心的部分。另外它还有超。
rice and it has mugwort in it. Would you guys eat this pizza? It's in the shape of a turtle. It is making a lot of Italians angry, apparently. Let's continue. Where is the original? Where did it go? Here we go. Okay, so it is a turtle-shaped pizza. It has sticky rice with mugwort and red bean. In a seemingly irrelevant twist, the turtle looked as though it had been flattened by a truck and tossed into a radioactive sewage. That's a great Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reference, I'm sure. International commenters were bewildered, but Taiwanese netizens immediately recognized it as a riff of their traditional Taiwanese rice pastry tied to the Tomb Sweeping Festival. A little bit of cultural... There it is. That looks like a star to me, but that's what they're trying to reference, but they made it into a shape of a turtle. So the pizza has offended people. Offending people, as it turns out, is part of the Pizza Taiwan's marketing playbook. The whole objective, they say, is to get people to talk about Pizza Hut. So, making a perfect turtle is difficult. Would you guys eat this pizza? Okay, it was inspired by McDonald's viral black and white burgers, I do not remember that, which had sparked a surge in online searches for the burger brand. He proposed a progression of shocking toppings that could generate a buzz, but were still familiar with the Taiwanese market. What is this McDonald's black and white burger? I don't even remember. Oh, it was the buns. Okay. Yeah, 2012. I don't know about you guys, but I have no issue with this pizza. I think whatever these Taiwanese people are doing is genius, and they should keep doing it. I am a foodie myself, so I don't know. This looks kind of appetizing. What do you guys think? Would you eat that? If you are Italian, if there's any Italians in the chat, does this picture offend you? Does this hurt you or your sentimentalities in any way? Let me know in the comments, please. Alrighty. What's next? Pineapple on pizza? I don't know. Kind of crazy. I don't know. I love unusual stuff. I love trying anything that's weird. I sometimes will regret it. I especially love those sodas that are... I got a ranch flavored soda a little while back and it was disgusting, but I'm so glad I tried it. I love trying unusual things because if you don't try it, you don't know how... I just feel like I would regret it if I don't try unusual things. So if I had a chance to... Oh boy. I mean, I would never eat dog. I can't do that, but I would try almost anything. I mean, I love unusual stuff like this, so... But anyway, I wanted to end off on a bit of a lighter note. But you know what you guys haven't tried that you probably should? That's right, I'm going to shill it. It's my coffee, the Culturama Atomic Blonde Coffee. I highly recommend you get it. It will keep you up for hours. It is delicious. It could be enjoyed warm or chilled. You can pour it over ice, or you can have it in a nice hot steaming liquid in a mug. And it will get you going and up for hours and completely functional and will give you the capacity to do almost anything it is that you want. I promise you this is a magic liquid. You can buy a subscription of it and do a consecutive donation every month or every 2 weeks or so, every 2 months or every 3 months to get a bag, or you can make a one-time purchase just to see if you like it. I highly recommend it. Once again, it is the Atomic Blonde Coffee. If you wonder where I get the energy to do this show, I will say that it is most definitely this coffee. It is most effective, and it is more effective than most other substances. I assure you, please consider getting the Atomic Blonde Coffee from the Culturama shop. I also recommend that you look into getting other products from the Culturama collection. Like, for instance, we have the Culturama sweatshirts. We have this Culturama pillow that I have right here with me, the Culturama pillow with the logo. We also have the Gulf of America gear that you can find on the Liberty shop. But if you want to purchase any of these lovely products, go on the 4libertyshop.com or the AP4libertyshop.com and you type in Culturama or Culturama collection in the search bar. And when you do that, you can find a whole host of products on the show. You will not regret it. And of course, our latest edition is the Leo Unleash the Beast pillow. With my dog. I know we have some fans of Leo. You can get this delightful plushie to support the show of my dog. Quite the conversation starter piece. Or you can get a pillow of me, or you can get a lovely Culturama candle. I call this one the Simp Pillow. Also, we have these lovely shirts. One of my favorites, the Culturama, quote, I don't really care, Margaret, unquote, JD Vance t-shirts. And you can get them in a whole host of colors, as you can see here. But these are all products you can find on the shop, and I highly recommend getting one of these. It supports the show, and you also have a tangible piece of your support and of the show, which you can thoroughly enjoy and, of course, start conversations with other people about the show. So that's a gift shop. I will be, obligated to pull that up every stream, and I happily do because I love my products, and obviously I wouldn't share my products if I didn't really enjoy them and enjoy the quality of them. This pillow right here, I love its quality. I went to Arizona and America Fest and I interviewed people, which I'll be putting up that video hopefully soon. And I know it's been a month, but I had everyone hold the pillow when I interviewed them. And you can still see how dirty it is because it was so white, but very good quality products that we have here and many more to come. So, and if you guys have any other product suggestions, let me know and I will get it added to the shop as best I can. I know someone suggested the other stream to have emotes for the Rumble chat, and I will be looking into doing that as well. So thank you very much, you guys, for your support and your suggestions. I take what my fans say very seriously, and I want to, have you guys' input and actually implement it and have you guys enjoy the show as much as I love doing it. Alrighty. John Drives Cars on Twitch. You wrote, let me read this. I am so glad to see younger people, no offense at all, with a wiser head on their shoulders. I've been seeing so much of these things over the years, with sadly not many seeming to care. People like you give me hope for the younger generations. Thank you so much, John Drives Cars. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, you know, I've been, by the way, good night. Who's leaving? Good night, Entropy Nomad. I thank you so much for your donations and coming into the chat. I'll see you next stream. Hopefully you'll be around tomorrow for the stream, for the video game stream, if I end up doing it. Thank you. John Drives Cars. I've been working in politics for now, it looks like 10 years. I am in my late 20s, and it is a very gratifying, it is both a gratifying and a radicalizing experience. So I agree that, you know, we need a lot of work to do. But thankfully, I am seeing, particularly with Generation Z, that a lot of these people, especially young men, are just so revitalized, and they want to completely uproot the system. At least I'm seeing that with conservative young men, conservative young women as well, but mostly young men. And, you know, they're really taking the lead forward in doing that, like we have seen them in the DOGE organization do that. So I think that with Trump's win, this momentum will only accelerate forward. So I really do think we have big things are going to happen. Thank you so much, Mr. I never know how to pronounce your name. Mr. Libsurdi. Libsurdi is maybe how it's pronounced. Mr. Libsurdi on YouTube. Thank you so much for that, for the comment on my outfit. I really do appreciate it. He writes, love your outfit tonight and the show has been great. Thank you so much. Hopefully you'll be around for tomorrow's stream. So I think I'm going to be mole rat meat. Yes, I would try mole rat meat probably. John Drives Cars. I would consider it, at least. Okay. It is getting a bit late. I did start this stream a little later today, so I'm going to be closing it here, you guys. Give me a moment.
In the heart they gather strong, pushing back the lefties' throng. With the red banner held high, marching forward through the night. Promises of old will keep as the donkeys start to weep. Stars and stripes forever sway. In the land of the brave we stay. We've got the power now in the heart of every town. We've got the power now. The Reds are going down.
With a flagpole planted firm,
golden dreams that won't decay,
marching proudly through the day.
In the eagle's shadow by, we find our strength and take our pride. Let the voices echo loud, tearing through the waiting crowd. We've got the power now in the heart of every town. We've got the power now. The